All these bowls of pho are clearly too small. But the 5-pound challenge bowl is just right. Pho comes out boiling hot, but thankfully ice is freezing cold. I've been messing around with this NewAir ice maker for the past couple weeks, and I wish I had it with me during the pho challenge. It would have really helped me beat the heat. You put in water, and in a matter of minutes, you get ice. This thing can actually produce nearly 50 pounds of ice in a single day. There's gotta be a challenge in there somewhere. It comes out kind of cylinder shaped, but it still gets the job done. If you're interested in buying one, I got a direct link to the product website in the description section below, and with the coupon code FreakEating, you'll save 20% off your order. Now let's get back to the big bowl of pho. Pho Saigon Bay in Sacramento, California is home to a very traditional food challenge. The big bowl of pho you'll find here is modeled off the legendary Pho Garden Challenge from a few years back. Basically, you get 2 pounds of noodles and 2 pounds of various cuts of beef served in nearly boiling broth. You get 1 hour to finish it all for a free meal, a spot on the Wall of Fame, and a $25 gift certificate. If you can't finish it in the hour, you'll pay $32 for the giant meal. No fanfare, no BS, no Stalin. This is a challenge I can really get behind. Pho is among my favorite foods, so it's especially wonderful when I can find a restaurant offering it up as an official challenge. Now, if you've never had pho, it's a traditional Vietnamese soup made with light noodles and a broth that delivers a meaty, salty, but well-seasoned flavor. It's a flavor all its own. It's difficult to fully describe if you've never eaten it, and in my experience, people seem to either really love it or really not care for it. I've never met anyone who's in between those two opinions. The meat that's used in pho varies, and in my dining experiences, I've seen everything from chicken to pork to high-quality steak being used. But most of these oversized pho challenges utilize something called combination beef. Combination beef is a medley of several different types of beef, including meatballs, which is basically ground beef, flank, tendon, tripe, and your basic cuts of steak. It's not necessarily a selection of meat that the American palate is accustomed to, but it is an interesting experience to realize that people really do eat these things for normal meals. Some of these cuts are a bit chewy, especially the tripe and tendon, but the meatball and steak are pretty straightforward. The noodles pose no threat, thankfully. They're a very light and thin noodle, and for the most part, they could be swallowed with little to no chewing. What makes a pho challenge difficult is the overall temperature of the soup. They always come out boiling hot, and when you start eating, you gotta deal with the reality that you're probably gonna burn yourself on the road to victory. One strategy that you'll find a lot of challenge eaters employing is adding ice water or really cold water to the bowl to help drop down the overall temperature. Sometimes you'll pull some of the noodles or meat out and place them on a separate plate or bowl so they can cool off a bit. I also like to use a third strategy. Take a giant bite of really hot food and then take a drink of water to cool it off so you can swallow it. Thankfully, this pho challenge in particular does not require you to drink the broth, so you can go ahead and add ice or water without having to worry about consuming excess fluid. There are some pho challenges out there that will expressly forbid you adding ice or water or anything else to the bowl, but thankfully, Pho Saigon Bay is pretty chill about this. Clearly, I was having a difficult time at the beginning of this challenge just because of how hot the bowl was. You don't want to go in too slowly, but you also don't want to scald the roof of your mouth, or your tongue. It's a true balancing act. I mean, nobody wants cold soup either. Hence why I joked about how cool it would be if I had an ice machine handy to just make the soup cool enough to eat. And as you approach the midway point of these types of pho challenges, I find that eating the hot soup causes me to sweat intensely, and that provides another challenge, somehow keeping my face dry and my glasses on my face while continuing to plow through the food. And finally, when you get to the end of the challenge and you don't have much food left, The struggle changes, and the hardest part is trying to find the last remnants of noodle and beef swimming in the broth. It doesn't help that pho broth is slightly dense. You can't see through it, so you have to use your utensils to fish around and hopefully not miss anything. And when you think you're almost done, you have to get the attention of one of the servers, and they'll check to see if you've finished it all. Sometimes finding those last bits of noodle and meat can be frustrating, but they seem to find them. And if you've ever taken on a pho challenge, it would be awesome to hear about it. Go ahead and tell your story in the comments section below. Likewise, if you've ever eaten pho just for a normal meal, and you have an opinion about it, go ahead and share that too. It's especially interesting to me to hear the feelings and opinions of people who aren't competitive eaters, people who don't approach food as if it were a sport or a job. I like to think of food as one of life's basic joys, and the day that I look at this as if it were work is the day that I'm done with it. I hope that day never comes. The rest of this challenge is going to continue without commentary, and if you're bored, you can go ahead and skip to the time listed on the screen to see how the challenge played out. Excuse me. I think so. I mean, it's hard to find. And here it is. Boom goes the dynamite. I achieved victory over the Pho challenge in a little more than 30 minutes. It was good, fun eating, very satisfying, and the restaurant staff was proud of my victory. The guys at the counter actually subscribed to my YouTube channel when they found out that I made YouTube videos. I did this challenge in March of 2018, and it turns out they haven't had a winner since the year 2017, so I was happy to end that drought for them. Thank you to everyone at home for watching, and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. And thank you to Pho Saigon Bay for letting me take on this challenge. And hopefully I won't be your last winner in 2018. Until we eat again, stay in school, don't do drugs, and eat like a freak.